So, hi everyone. If you didn't get an opportunity to put anything in the chat for a request and you would like to, please go ahead and do so. So the props I have nearby are a couple of yoga blocks, a blanket, and a strap. And you can use whatever you have handy as props. There is also a cat in space, and there's a Asian lady beetles, the things that look like ladybugs but are not ladybugs, have made their way in. So he's running around a bit hunting those. So if it is comfortable, the invitation is to find a seat. And if it is not a cross-legged seat, you are welcome to be in a chair, kneel, whatever feels best in your body. Consider resting the eyes and taking these first few moments to check in with your energy level, to notice how the body is feeling, be it energy-wise, or maybe you have some sweet spots, some areas in the body that may be feeling a little sensitive, perhaps are holding a little more tension. Consider taking a deep inhale in through the nose, and perhaps sighing it out, audibly through the mouth. Feel free to repeat that. We may be sliding, if and when you feel ready, into a closed mouth style of breath, where we're both inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils. Consider spinning palms to face up and bringing movement into the fingers, and movement into toes, and maybe a little nod of the head. Remember, we can nod in more than one direction, just sussing the neck, the shoulders, perhaps the jaw. And let's bend an elbow and reach that hand out to the side like you're trying to stop traffic, turning the chin in that direction. Curl the fingers in, drawing in. So it might feel a little intense through the forearm, through the wrist. Pressing out through the hand and then drawing back in. Releasing, breathing, head may nod. That same side shoulder may circle, may roll. And then let's trade direction. Mobilize the shoulder in the second direction. Give the body a little wobble. Second side. So bending that second hand and reaching out, inviting traffic to stop. And perhaps curl the fingers in, bending the elbow. You might take a full, complete breath before repeating, pressing out, turning the head in that direction, curling the digits in. If you're feeling like you really need a few more on either side, of course, listen to your body. We may be rolling that same side shoulder and then reversing, rolling in a second direction. Let's spin both palms to face forward with energetic fingers, moving the fingers and let both arms move out to the side. So palms start face up. And we may turn the head to one side and just look at the thumb tips dial up. Nose tip to center, head to the second side, thumb tips dial up. We'll move back to the middle, and perhaps the arms rise, the gaze may rise. And as we exhale, rotating, turn twisting to one side. We'll hold the twist. Crown of the head high, or perhaps chin dipping towards chest. Inhale, we'll find our way back to the middle, and as we exhale, rotating, twisting to that second side. How's the neck on this side? Maybe we're gliding or nodding the head. Inhale, find our way to the middle, thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. We might find a couple of blocks or something even higher, like a balance ball. Starting to tip lean forward. Consider planting the hands, and we might have a bit of a slope at first. If it feels okay in the wrists and the forearms, we might tip a little further forward, finding more of a 90-ish degree bend or flexion in those wrists. Maybe we're dipping in a little lower. That might be all about the hips here, so just take your time. Perhaps there's a little glide right to left. It could just be a hint of a glide. Now where the hands landed, where your props landed, they're not glued there. We can move those. So we might pick our props up and move them a bit more wide or a bit more narrow. Maybe we're gliding down, making a little more space. Chest perhaps getting closer to the ground. And rolling back up. And as we roll up, just take a moment to tip back, lean back, and acknowledge which leg or foot you might have in front or on top, and just trade it up. Now, at the knees, just say you need to extend me first, go ahead and do that. And then reversing the cross of the legs, wobble those sits bones back. Checking in with the seat on this side. So there might be a very good reason why this is your second favorite side. Let's bend the left elbow, and I'm mirroring, and raise the arm. Chin may dip towards the chest. We might find movement in fingers. We may spin the chin over towards the right. Perhaps head nodding. We might drop right hand to the ground or onto a prop, exploring a lean. You're welcome to keep that arm fully extended. Maybe it feels even better to bend the elbow to whichever degree works for you. Let's rise up, look over to the left, stopping traffic again on that side, and then spin the palm to face forward. And just begin to sweep the arm over to the right. Let that hand come up towards the shoulder, and we'll just glide the arm back out to the left. But maybe we're finding a little more sweep back, a little rotation to the left. Maybe we're leaning forward as we slide the arm back to the right, finding that right shoulder. Now maybe not, so we might just stay up a little higher, draw the arm over to the side, and perhaps we just bend the elbow out and up, and grab hold of that left arm, inviting it back over to the right. So if it just feels best to go back and forth, like we're just starting to work out the kinks, maybe from sitting at a desk on a laptop for hours. Feel free to stay with that motion. We might find a spot where we hold, check in with the neck and with the shoulder. The head doesn't have to nod, but it might. And let's release that. Start to invite that left elbow up in front of the shoulder. And if you'd like to take it higher, we might slide that elbow up and overhead, pressing the head back into the crook of the elbow. Where's the chin? Is it pinned to the chest? It might feel like a big back bend too. Try lifting the chin off of the chest. And if you really want to side bend again over to the right, we might find that tip lean towards the right. And then we'll come back to center. Releasing the arms down. Consider letting the eyes rest. The body may sigh. There may be some big internal sensations on that left side. Maybe we want a little shoulder roll, a little clear out after all of that movement. So second side is coming. Inviting that right elbow to bend, and the elbow might just go wide, maybe a little high. We might extend the entire arm up to the ceiling, perhaps chin, tips towards the chest. The head may even lean a little to the left. We might find some movement through those top fingers. Consider letting that arm come down. And perhaps we're inviting that shoulder to roll, maybe not. And this side might be very different. So the invitation is to listen to this side as you see fit. So maybe we have a prop over to the left and drop that left hand as we bend the right and reach that right arm. So this is your second side. So again, I'm mirroring. Maybe the head nods, the fingers may mobilize, and you could keep the arm extended or have any degree of elbow bend that you prefer. Consider rising back up and stopping traffic back over to the right. So we're pressing out through the hand again, maybe a little intense through the wrist, chin in that direction. And then we'll release the release valve, if you will. So the palm is facing forward. If you need to bend the elbow, go for it. And we may just sweep the arm over to the left. Hand can rest to the shoulder, the elbow may slide out. Re-extending the arm, we might find a little more twist. Maybe it's a little bigger sweep with a forward lean. Can keep it more conservative, it can be a little larger. We may be grabbing that forearm at any point and starting to go back and forth, taking that elbow high. If and when you feel ready to hold, we may be holding, turning the chin to the left. The chin may tuck, the head may glide. And let's find our way back to center, supporting that right elbow, just giving it a little boost. And maybe we go gradually higher. Maybe we slide that arm all the way up and overhead, tipping back, leaning back, again, checking in with the chin. Is it pinned to the chest? Can we get a little more height? And then let's release both arms down, and maybe we want a little roll of that shoulder. Consider finding your props again, deciding on the height, the wrist placement. Maybe we're going to hinge a little further forward. We may be coming a little lower. Maybe going back and forth. We might just find a spot and glide the head or explore those tip leans a little side to side. And gradually, slowly coming all the way back up. And maybe we bring just the hands or the props behind the back to tip back and extend the legs. Give a little wiggle through those knees and let the ankles circle. Circle, second direction. Now we may bend the knees. Feel free to use your props if they're sturdy enough to press down, give yourself a boost. So we might be pressing down, moving anything you were sitting on out of the way. Step the feet back, the feet a little wider. We may shift a little side to side. Maybe the hands find the ground. Or perhaps you're bringing hands or forearms onto the seat of a chair. We may be nodding, circle nodding the head as we sway the hips. Stretching bottom jaw away from top jaw. Letting the lips return towards one another. Let's rise halfway up. The body may sigh. Consider heel toeing or stepping the feet to about hips distance. Fan the toes and find a rock back on the heels, but then forward so the heels are rising. Let the weight rock back, hips piking backwards. Peel the heels up. Landing the heels, begin to walk your hands over to the right. So you might have long arms, block arms like I have here. Maybe we put a little bend in that right knee and roll the left hip back. Right ribs, maybe getting a little closer to the right thigh. Let's find the middle, rise halfway up. We might find that little weight shift rock forward, back a time or two. And then let the block hands or just the hands walk over to the second side. So we may bring some bend into that left knee, rolling right hip back. And if the knees really love to hyperextend, we're super flexy through the hamstrings, we might just need to put a little bit of bend back in that right side knee. Let's bring it back to the middle and consider draping down, finding your way back into a forward fold. Let the knees bend, forearms find the thighs, and the hips may sink a little lower. Sometimes we're lightheaded if we come to standing too quickly. So we might sink the hips a bit lower still. The knees may have something to say about this, the ankles too, so we'll listen to them. And if and when you're ready, we may rise all the way up. thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. So perhaps we take a step forward, just shifting through the feet, shifting through the hips. Yeah, maybe we've been sitting a lot. Let's bring our forearms forward, start to move the wrists with the forearms, kind of like you're winding up yarn on your arms, and then go the other way. So reversing the wrists and the elbows. And then let's open those arms wide. Inhale, the arms may rise. We might find a little bit of standing back bend. And as we exhale, begin to forward fold. You may want your blocks up the top short edge of the mat. They may already be there. Lift the heart. Right foot stays forward. Let's reach that left leg back, finding a lunge position. So we may rock a little forward, a little back, noticing how those wrists are feeling if we're bearing weight on them. Let the hips come higher. Tap, tap, navigate that left foot forward, left foot alongside the right. Exhale, tipping in. We might put a little bit of bend in the knees, circle the arms all the way up. Thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. Palms spin to face forward, arms rising, gaze rising. And as we exhale, finding your forward fold. So take your time, take extra breaths, listen to your body. Inhale, heart rising. We've got that left foot forward, right leg reaches back. And maybe we're rocking a little forward, a little back. So we're checking with the toes, the sole of the foot, the front of the thigh, the wrists. Let the hips rise, tap, tap. Navigate that right foot forward. So it doesn't have to come high at all, but it might. You might lift, step that right foot alongside the left. And as you exhale, tipping in. Consider bringing the big toes together and then pivoting the heels a little bit closer to one another, sinking hips, bending these just a bit, and inviting the arms high. Thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. So we might put hands on the hips, power person pose. And let's imagine we have some glue or industrial strength Velcro between our feet. We might draw those heels right together and invite the heels to rise up. Pick a point, something to look at that won't move. So I'm going to move and wobble, so I'm not going to look at the screen. I'm going to look ahead, find a spot on the wall, on the floor, something that won't move. Try to hug those heels in, heels rising, and then dropping them down. And then check to see that you're breathing. Often we hold our balance when we're challenging the balance like that. And we might find a little rock forward and back. We can keep the hands on the hips and we can keep the gaze forward. We might find a steeple grip overhead. Weave the fingers together, reach the arms high, and the gaze may roll upwards. Heels rising, hugging in, still breathing. The heels may wobble apart, try to draw those inner ankles back towards one another. They're not necessarily touching. And then slowly lower the heels. Find your forward fold. Inhale, heart rises. Let's take a moment, right foot forward, left leg reaching back. And we might find that wobble forward, wobble back. How does it feel? Maybe we want to reach out and find our blanket or a folded towel to pad cushion the left knee. Possibly putting that left hand down on the ground. You might take it wider, you might keep it right under the shoulder. Right hand, right knee. Back knee may rise. And we might reach that right arm straight up in the air for a lunge twist. Consider cycling the top hand overhead, planting the right hand and stepping back into a down face dog position. We may be pedaling the feet, shifting the hips, letting the head move a little side to side, wag the hips, drawing up on the fronts of the knees, let the head very gently circle nod. The body may sigh. Lips gently parted, perhaps we even stretch the bottom jaw wide from the top jaw. rocking forward into a high plank position. Now the knees may land to the ground, the belly, point the toes, invite the elbows forward, chest rising. And we might find gentle leads right to left, left to right, whichever side you go to is fine. And then tip lean to one side, let your chin travel to that side and bend the opposite knee. So we might find a little knee bend, a little lower leg wobble. We may circle the lower leg around. We may tip the toes side to side. Let the foot land, find the middle. Finding breath and body, checking in, how does that front body feel? Again, if you've been sitting a lot all day, maybe we have some tension in the abdomen. Let's tip lean, second side. Make sure you can breathe. Maybe we're bending that second knee. And we might find a little motion, maybe circling. And eventually landing the foot back to the ground as we find the middle again. We're noticing perhaps more tension on one side. Let's release down, brow towards the ground, slide the hands back. Invite the chest to rise, cobra. And perhaps we're rolling right back down. Repeating, heart rising, and rolling down. Perhaps one more round. Chest lifting away from the ground, releasing down. Let's press back into a child's pose. So hips move towards the heels. We might have support underneath the forehead so that we can have more ease in the neck. Now your knees could be wide, they could be together. It might be comfortable to put your forehead right on the ground, but it might be more about the neck than the forehead, really. Consider finding a little yes nod and a tiny no nod so that we're massaging any tension out of the brow. It may become circles. And let's start to roll up to a kneeling position briefly so that we can put our knee padding back in place and find hands and knees. So let's take the right leg back and let that right leg rise. Draw the knee to the nose so the back is rounding. Take the knee wide to the right and then circle the leg back and a little bit high. We'll pull the knee in, repeating knee to nose, knee wide, knee moving high. One more time, draw the knee to the nose in this direction and then go the other way. So lift the leg, then go wide, rounding the back, knees back towards nose. Repeating. And then next time you find that right knee wide to the right, consider pulling the knee up towards the shoulder and stepping that right foot back between the hands. Now maybe the foot didn't make it all the way and you want to grab your blocks, make it a little easier for yourself. Press down so you can rise up and heel toe or scooch. You could use your hand, scooch the toes forward, whatever it takes to get that ankle underneath the knee. Let's tuck the back toes, back knee rising. We're stepping that left foot forward. So maybe we move the hands forward, take as many little steps as you like, or maybe a big step. Left foot forward, exhale to bend. Take a moment to breathe. Notice how that back body is feeling. We might again play with that weight shift, a little forward, a little back. Let the knees bend. If we're feeling lightheaded, forearms to thighs, let the hips sink, take it slower. Rising all the way back up. And let's exhale, forward fold. Inhale, heart rising, reach the right leg back. And we might find that little rock back and forth. Maybe we're adjusting that knee padding so that the right knee has support. We might need to adjust the left foot a little in preparation for planting that right hand. And perhaps we keep left hand on left knee. Maybe the left arm is rising and the right knee. Finding that lunge twist. How does it feel to put movement in the fingers? Maybe you want to drop the arm lower. Let's cycle that top hand back down to the ground, stepping back into dog. And perhaps we're pedaling. And we may land the right heel, peel the left heel up, pivot left knee to the right. We might give that left leg a wobble, left heel down, right heel rising, right knee to the left, give the leg a wobble. So we may find the middle, roll on forward, find that high plank position. You might be buckling fingerprints to the ground, hand the knees whatever you need to. Point the feet as we slide on down, finding that Sphinx position. So the elbows, create the action of hugging the elbows towards the hips without really moving them. And then take a moment to press down into the ground. Retract your ribs towards the ceiling. Let the pelvis rise, chin towards chest. And then gradually rolling forward. Let's look to the right. Bend the right knee this time as you bend to the right. Consider taking the right knee out wide to the side. Now, if the floor is very cold, or maybe you brought the knee up super high really quick, you might get a butt cramp. So you can always put something underneath the knee, or don't take the knee up quite so high. We might just start to find a little more tickling over to the right, looking right. We may plant the right hand and thread the left arm over to the right. So we may want to block within very easy reach to rest the left cheek, left ear on. Top hand, right hand may be grounded. And that left hand, it's palm up or palm down. Just notice which direction you've gone in. Now, possibly we press into that right hand, scooch the left arm a little more to the right, and we might start to adjust our pillow prop back behind us a bit more. And the right arm could rise. It might be coming up. Maybe hand is on the back of the head. The elbow may drop back. Maybe we prefer the arm high and dropping back. If, like me, you're kind of close to the wall, maybe put the hand on the wall. So let's very slowly, carefully roll back to the right, press into that right hand so we can slide the left arm out. And right leg reaches back, slides back. And we might just find that wobble a little side to side, lengthening the front body. No hurry, no rush. Consider bending left knee out to the left. The elbows may have traveled a little more left on our way there. We might be putting our pillow prop over to the right in preparation. Give yourself time. It's a big side bend. They don't have to get into the twist immediately. Placing that top hand, if and when you feel ready on the ground. So we're threading or sliding the right arm under the left. And maybe we're sliding that left knee up a little higher, adjusting the pillow prop. We can certainly keep that kickstand hand down. Check in with the palm of the right hand. Is it facing up or down? Is that what you did on the other side? Maybe that left hand, that top hand, is moving towards the head or up to the ceiling. Or perhaps it's even dropping back. And let's slowly begin to unwind the twist. Bring that left hand back to the ground. Press into the hand, slide that right elbow out. We'll be reaching left leg long. Finding your Sphinx. Perhaps finding that little bit of glide side to side. Releasing down to the ground. Consider taking your fingers to the back of your neck. So you might need to, if you have longer hair, just kind of brush it up out of the way. And maybe just finagle your shirt collar down a little bit.
So we'll take our fingers a little bit like claws, lobster claws, and just use them to self-massage the back of the neck, moving right up towards the base of the skull and back down. Plant the hands, invite the heart to rise, rolling the hips again back towards the heels, child's pose. We may scooch the fingers further forward and maybe move the hands a little closer in. If we took the arms narrow, bring them back to about shoulders distance. Let's roll up to hands and knees and make sure your knees have all the padding you prefer. So the left leg is the reaching back leg this time. The left leg rises. Let's draw the knee to the nose, round the back. Let's take the knee wide and then high. Knee to nose, to the left, smooth it out up in the air, knee to the nose, reverse direction, knee high, wide, move it in. Knee high, wide, move it in. So that last round, remember, we're going to step it forward. So when you have that left knee wide, bring it up towards the elbow, navigating that foot forward. Use your blocks, heel toes, scooch that foot in, whatever it takes. Go ahead, find the blocks. Tuck the back toes, let that back knee rise. Lifting the right leg, stepping right foot forward, and exhale, folding in. We might find a little nod of the head. Let's rise just halfway up, keep right foot forward. Reach left foot back. Option to put the back knee down. Spin the blocks a little higher, lift the chest a little higher. Bend the right toes, hands may find that front thigh. Shoulders might find their way over hips. Hands may stay on hips. The arms may rise, palms may connect. The thumbs may move towards the back of the head, pressing the head gently into the heels of the hands. Reaching the arms up in the air, let the hands come down. Find the blocks, consider the lowest setting. You don't have to stay there. Tap the left foot in just enough to work the right leg towards straight. Fan all of the toes. Tip leaning into a forward fold. Let's put a little bend in that front knee. Find those blocks and slide the right foot back a bit. So hands forward, load that right thigh, invite the left leg high. Option to tent fingers to the ground, to wrap the right hand around the right leg. Left fingers may stay tented like a wide kickstand. And then navigating fingers forward, come up a little higher. And let's start to bring that left knee behind the right leg somewhere. And maybe touch those left toes down. We might just find the spot where we feel the heat in that outer right thigh, even if just for a moment. Let that leg rise. And we may bring left knee towards the right leg. We might be reaching that left leg a little wider still. Let that leg rise. And we may tap, touch the toes down, maybe extend the leg. Invite that left leg high, bend the left knee out to the left, draw the left knee alongside the right, and let the left foot land. Tipping, leaning back in. We'll rise halfway up, left foot remains forward, right foot reaches back. And we might go for that little rock. We might drop the back knee. We may just spin those blocks higher, work the hands up the thigh, hands to the hips. Perhaps the arms rise, the gaze may rise. We may bring the heels of the hands towards the back of the head, tipping, leaning back as we lunge. Rolling right hip forward. We may reach those fingers high, hands come back down to the blocks or to the ground. Perhaps we shorten the distance between the legs, working left leg closer to straight. Take your time. This side might feel very different. Maybe we find some rocks, some shifts side to side, or rebend and re-extend left leg. Finding the place where we can hold for a breath or several more. Now we may be sliding that left leg back as we bend the knee, hands forward. Take a moment, feel that leg heat up, and when you're ready, let that right leg rise. Perhaps we keep our hands on blocks or bring the fingers to the ground, let the chest move closer towards the left leg. Maybe the left hand wraps around left leg. You can stick with this variation. Maybe we're finding our blocks or bringing the hands down, bending both knees. Right knee tapping behind left leg somewhere. Letting that right leg rise. Right knee again tapping perhaps behind the left leg, maybe reaching out to the left a bit. And that right leg may rise. We may bring that right knee behind the left and extend the leg over to the left. And that right leg may rise and start to come out to the side, out to the right, bending the knee, right knee alongside the left, right foot landing. Let the chest rise, rolling in. Let's put a little bend in the knees, forearms to thighs. Hips can gradually go lower. Rising all the way up to stand. Thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. Find a wall, place your left hand on the wall. Step the right foot back. So we may find a little bit of standing back bend and keep the toes down. We might hover the toes. Maybe we bend and extend the leg a little bit. It's going to feel more active in those hamstrings. Maybe we reach back and hold the foot and really focus on the stretch in the front of the thigh. Releasing the foot. Trade hands at the wall. Take those left toes back, and we might be finding that back bend stand, and that can be plenty. Maybe we're working on lifting the foot, toes touching down, feeling the hamstrings. Maybe we're grabbing the foot and holding, trying to align, floating knee up with standing knee. Releasing the foot back down. From the short edge of the mat, let's step wide so all the toes face the long edge. Pivoting right toes, I'm mirroring, right toes towards the short edge of the mat. Lunge bend into that right knee. Re-extend the leg, lift, fan the toes. Let's go for that lunge bend. Forearm to thigh. Top hand, top hip. We might find a block or a stack of blocks. And extend right leg closer to straight. Top arm may become the rising arm. Gaze could be down to the ground to help with balance. The neck may prefer gaze to the ground or forward or up to the ceiling. And let's bend into that front knee. Perhaps we take the block with us, rise up, pivot, toes in. Second foot out. Explore that lunge bend. Lift, fan, left toes. Rebend, you can go back and forth. When you find the perfect height, we might find that tip lean onto the thigh. Deposit a block. And perhaps we're extending that left leg. We might need to adjust the feet. We may lift that top arm up in the air, drawing up on the left thigh. To come out of it, let's bend into the front knee, perhaps take the block with you, rise all the way back up, pivot the toes in, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, navigate those feet back together. Let's move back up to the top short edge of the mat, and perhaps we place a couple of blocks there. So right foot forward, left leg back, Let's lunge bend in the front knee. How's that back heel doing? If you need to spin it up, pivot it up. Heel may stay down with bend in the knee. And the arms may rise. We may slide right hand, right hip, start to find a twist over towards the right. Left hand or left forearm may find the thigh. Now perhaps we're bringing that left hand down, and it could be outside the little toe side of the right foot. That's likely going to be more of a balance challenge. You might want to block to the left side of the mat, the space that the left foot is not in. We may be extending that right leg and raising that right arm back up in the air. Rebending that top elbow, we're reversing, we're bending back into that front knee, bring the hands back up to the hips, and let's step left foot forward and right foot back. So give yourself a moment, check in with the knee, that back ankle, maybe that back heel stays elevated. We may pivot the heel to the left, rolling right hip forward, and the arms may rise. We can stick with this and drop that left elbow, find that rotation, the twist over to the left. Right hand, left thigh, maybe forearm on the thigh. Bringing the hand down to a block. You're choosing exactly where that block is located. Extending left leg. Left arm may rise. Rebending the elbow, bring that top hand down, rebend the knee as we square the chest to the ground. Both hands perhaps on the hips will rise up, stepping back foot forward, shifting it out. So maybe we're stepping closer to a wall and bringing that left hand back onto a wall like we did before. We may have the right foot back, and we can stay there. We may bend the knee and hold the foot, point the knee down, we can stop here. We may take that left arm up in the air, put a little bend in left knee, and press that right foot back into the right hand. Now to come out of it, option one, we might just rise up, draw that right knee in, and release the foot down to the ground. For fun, find your way back in if you came out of it that way. So where it's standing, we might return back into that back bend orientation. So listen to your knees. Put a little bend in the left knee, let go of the right foot. Take that right knee out to the right. Cycle that right thigh forward. If you're just standing, consider lifting the leg up in the air. We may scoop underneath the hamstrings and extend the leg. Rebend. We may take that right knee out to the right. Left hand could be on the wall. We might be stopping traffic, just reaching the hand out to the left. Draw the knee forward. Let it go, shift it out. So pivoting around, so if you're using the wall, you've got a hand on the wall, left toes back. Maybe we're bending the knee, holding the foot. Remember, we can stay here, we can back it off, we might reach that right arm up. We might put bend in right knee, press the left foot back into the hand. Maybe that right arm starting to reach overhead. How do you want to come out of it? So maybe you're coming to stand. Maybe we're releasing that left foot, taking that left knee out to the side, drawing the knee up into the chest, and maybe you're just lifting. If you're standing, lift the knee, holding on. Little scoop, shovel scoop under the thigh, extending that leg. We may be rebending. We may be opening left knee to the left. Perhaps you're pressing that right hand into the wall, or maybe you're wall free, stopping traffic, pushing out through the hand. Let's cycle that knee back to the middle. Feel free just to let the leg come down, or if you'd like to extend, rebend, release, let it go. So let's step back out. So we're finding a long stance again on the mat. And maybe a little shift forward, a little shift back through the feet. Big toes may angle in. Knees, hips, how are they doing? We might put a little more bend in the knees. Hinge at the hips, we're rolling forward. Find your blocks. You can just put the hands on the ground, but maybe we have hands on blocks. Maybe the hands are finding their way to the ground, head heavy. Perhaps we're peeling the heels of the hands away from the mat, extending the elbows. We may find those slide glides through the hips side to side. And let's rise halfway up. Possibly hands on blocks. Look to the left, angle left toes out. Go for that lateral lunge. Rise on up, left toes in, right toes out, side lunge. Maybe we adjust the hands a little to the right. Rise on up, right toes in. We'll take it back to the left. Move at your own pace. You can slow it down. We'll rise back up, pivot left toes in, right foot out. Maybe our hands are off the floor. We may have hands at the heart. How much challenge do you want right now? We'll move back to the middle. So adjusting hands to center. Heel, toe, toe, heel, feet all the way in. Give yourself a moment. We're going to think about kneeling. So is kneeling on the menu? So it might just be that we come down and sit. You might be making a little space. So maybe, sitting on the heels isn't going to work, but maybe sitting on 1 or 2 blocks, you might stack some blocks. That may work for you. So if that just, it doesn't work, come on your side. So the way that would work. And you might want a little extra padding under your hip if you're coming to your side. So the way that would work is we'll call it kneeling on the side, right? There's no load, no pressure in the knees. And then you can follow along, but we might be seated, kneeling. Give yourself a moment. Find your sits bones. Those butt bones, if you sit on a metal folding chair, wooden bleachers, you find them, right? So you got them right under the shoulders. And let's consider stepping left foot forward. The foot is pointed. And we might take the hands back. So I'm on my knuckles, maybe you're on your hands. So we might come all the way down to the hands and we might lift our bottom off the block or off the floor. Tilt your pelvis up towards the ceiling. Keep that tilt, but put your cheeks back down on the support, be it the block or a cushion or the floor. And we're trying to keep that right shin, right knee down on the ground. And we'll invite ourselves back up. Untuck your seat so that you can slide right foot out and left foot back. And then just make any little adjustment to find a sustainable seat for the next few moments. We might be bringing knuckles back. The hips may rise, tuck the seat, put the cheeks back on your support. Maybe you move the right foot a little further forward if we're walking the hands further back. Trying to keep left shin, left knee down, and maybe we even hug that left knee back in towards midline a little bit. Let's take a few moments to walk those hands back in, untuck the seat, and slide that left foot out. So give yourself a moment in your squat or your seat, whichever one you chose. We'll think about coming to sit a little bit lower. So maybe all the way to the ground, maybe you're going to sit back down on your blanket. And let's take left leg long and drop right knee out to the right, send the sits bones back, and then perhaps the hands move inside the knees. We might grab our blocks and lean forward with forearms on the thighs. We may support the forehead. We may rise up and move our hands, our blocks a little closer to that left leg. Maybe we're even framing the left leg tipping in. We might be reaching down for that left foot. We don't have to be grabbing the foot wherever the hands land. That's totally fine.
Beginning to rise back up, we'll trade sides. So right leg long, left foot moving in and knee dropping out. Send that right seat back. And perhaps we have the props or just the hands between the knees, tipping in, leaning in, supporting the brow. If you have a balance ball, you could have forearms on the balance ball or a chair seat, resting the brow on forearms. So you do not have to go anywhere else, but we might rise up and move the blocks closer to the straight leg. We might frame the straight leg. We might add in a little more forward bend. Again, the hands don't have to come to the foot, but they might. You might be more upright. You might be a lot more upright or even leaning back. That may feel better for your body. Let's begin to rise back up. And as we find our way back up, just take a moment and cross the legs again. So however you're crossing is fine. And we might lean into that forward bend. Little shift side to side. Hips, low back, outer legs. Reversing again your cross. This cross might be a little different than the first round. First round was a while ago. We'll find our way all the way back up. And let's try this on our back first. The knees may prefer it. So we'll come down onto back body. Raise the left leg up in the air. And find a bit of a figure four position. So that knee could be pointing towards the sternum. Then you might open out to the left. We might go back and forth like a door on its hinge. And maybe we slide a block underneath the right foot. Maybe we want a little more and hug the right leg into the chest, holding on behind that right thigh. And we may find a little rock, a little wobble. Little rock side to side. And we may return the right foot to the block or all the way to the ground and consider tipping the legs, the left foot, the outer right leg over towards the right. Now we might grab a hold of left ankle, left foot with right hand. Maybe we even decide to grab a block and put the block up against that left thigh to help move it away from the chest, just a possibility. So as we rock back to center, we may cross that left leg more snugly on the right, and that can be where we stay, but maybe we lift both ankles up, both feet up, and grab hold. Right hand moves to the left lower leg and vice versa. So opposite hand to little toe sided foot, ankle, shin, whatever you can get a hold of if you are going for that bind variation. So go ahead and unwind. Raise the left leg, left foot lands, feet wide, knees tip in. We'll heel toe the feet to about hips distance. Let that right leg rise. Maybe we're looking for a little more mobility through the ankle, around the back of the lower leg. We're heading towards that figure four. But we may be exploring the figure four, knee in, knee out, looking for your spot for now. Maybe we're sliding that block underneath left foot. Left foot could come against a chair or a wall if there's one nearby. Maybe we're going for that full bind. Maybe there's a little rock side to side. And you could certainly spend more time here. We may be returning that left foot to the ground. And then letting the legs rock tip over to that second side. So we may be holding on to right ankle, left hand. Maybe we're using a block or our hand. The block usually helps make the arm a little longer. What do you want to do with the right arm? We could extend it. We could keep it on the body. How's the neck feel? We don't have to turn our head to look at the device. Try to turn the focus inwards. Find the most comfortable position for your neck in this moment. We'll move back to the middle, and maybe there's a little rock, and we may think about that thigh to thigh wrap. And maybe we're putting that left foot on a block or just lifting both legs up. Maybe we just grab our pants. Maybe we get a little deeper by grabbing the legs. Tailbone may tip back down to the ground. And releasing that bind, land the left foot, extend the right leg. Let that right foot return to the floor, knees tipping in. Let's hook the thumbs and raise the arms up and overhead. Tilt the tailbone down, slide, glide the hips, arching the back, fingers mobilizing. Bending the elbows, press into the feet, traction, lengthen the low back, let the hips come down, heel toe, feet together. Let the knees drop wide to the side. Now the heels, the outer edges of the heels, little toe sides of the foot, sides of the heels may lift off the floor. So little toe side, little toes themselves down, moving the heels side to side to side. And then perhaps lowering those heels down to the ground. Heel, toe, toe, heel, feet wide. Let the knees roll in, knees tipping in. Finding a block, step the feet in. Press down into the elbows, let the hips curl up and consider putting your block on the lowest setting under the hips. Give yourself a moment to acclimate. And if it's just too hard to prop, you could always use a pillow or a folded blanket. Now we may draw the knees towards the chest a little bit so the feet can rise. And perhaps we're using your block as a massage tool on the low back. Figure eights. And dusting off the feet. We can keep bending knees, but we may lift the feet upwards towards the ceiling. We may open the arms wide or hold the block or hands on the belly. Invite the eyes to close. Following the next 10 cycles of breath. After that final breath cycle, letting the knees slowly, slowly bend. Pause. Gradually returning one foot to the ground. And then the other. Noticing the belly rise and sink. Feeling the circulation in the lower legs. Step the feet in just enough that you can reach down with your hands to frame the block. Press into the feet, hover the hips, slide the block out, and let the hips slowly glide back down to the ground. Knees perhaps tip in, feet wide, resting here. If it's more restful, you may take the knees wide and then slide the legs long. Giving a rock perhaps of the legs, and then letting the legs fall still. We may be deepening the breath, returning movement to toes, to fingers, circling wrists, reach up through the arms, down through the legs, and exhale, releasing. We may slide one foot in at a time. Press into the feet, glide the hips to one side, rolling, curling up in a little ball on one side. Top hand presses into the ground, pinwheel the knees to rise up. And perhaps bringing that second favorite leg on top. Connecting palms. Rubbing hands together, bringing a hand to the heart, a hand to the belly. Sealing our practice with sound. Deep inhale in through the nose. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this practice. Please let me know if you have any questions.